So if you remember, we were generating the city from this flocking algorithm and populated some buildings around the terrain model according to the color. You can also do some changes. But I have copied, so basically just baked it by just copying it after during the play of game. Copy it and then stop the game and just paste it. And I've got a frozen moment of these flocking houses. And we are going to create few camera passes around this building. So today what we are going to cover is about dealing with some camera passes and some UI triggering according to the camera position. All right, so this in this scene we have one main camera. We have a default directional light. We have a terrain model, and we have these houses as geometries. All right, and let's say from here onwards, we are going to create a project, video project that goes through different positions of this city. And sometimes we want to kind of click on one of the part and go inside and have a look at the interior. So this is not the only workflow that you will do, but this is something we found very useful. So for this, we are going to actually create few scenes to start working on the triggering. But anyways, to start with, let's make few cameras. So I'm going to make my first camera. My first camera maybe, because my main camera will be the main one that we will see. So this one will remain in display 1. And we are going to make few more cameras just to make sure that we are very specific with the camera position. So for any new camera we are going to use different display. So we are using display 2 in this case. So for display 2, you can see the display 2 display by changing the display number here. So the camera, what we want is, for example, I want the first camera to look at my site maybe from this view. All right. And we learned that we can use Shift Control V. Oh, no, Shift Control F, sorry. Shift Control F. So let's say this is my first camera. Shift Control F to align my camera to my view. All right. And that's my first view. Maybe I would like it to be a little bit higher. Shift Control F. Okay, this will be my camera number 1. And it's in display 2. These ones are just going to be my guide that my main camera eventually will follow using a script. Then I'm going to make Control D to create camera number 2. This one, I might want something like this, maybe, doesn't matter. And then Shift Control F. And then I'm going to make another camera. We look from here. And then this will be Shift Control F and number 3. Let's just make few more cameras so we can animate our passes much more dynamically. And then from here onwards, maybe I'm gonna zoom in to this valley, maybe. Then maybe this will become my 4th camera. Shift one more. I'm going to stop in front of this house, for example. And then I will turn on, I will trigger a UI and then enter another scene from here. So basically I'm going to say Shift Control F. So I have the first camera. We don't really see that. So if we want to see it, we can also align our view to the selection. So just for a very quick setting up for that, we are going to make a new shortcut. So go to Edit and Shortcuts. If you remember, our shortcut for Align to View was Control Shift F. We're going to make a new shortcut for Align to Geometry, Align to Selection. So let's search for Align. Align, then you will find this thing, Align View to select it. And you shouldn't have anything here. So maybe you don't have anything there. So just say Control Shift V. Just click Control Shift V here, and you can set this shortcut to Align View to select it. This is just for our quick review of the camera position. Okay. So now we can just have a look. So I'm going to select the first camera, Shift Control V. So that's my first camera, and then my second camera, and then my third camera, my fourth camera, my fifth camera. All right, great. And then maybe sixth camera. I'm going to just finalize it maybe with a far view. Maybe that will become my final camera angle. So I'm going to make a Control D, sixth camera, and this will be my final view. Shift Control F. Yes. So okay, now I have 6 cameras, and I'm going to make an empty game object to group them together. So when you group something with empty game object, make sure you reset it. And I'm going to call it all cameras, maybe. All cams. And just drag all of this inside. So my script will need to use this group with a lot of different cameras. Okay, now we are ready. And we are going to use a script to let this thing save it. Let my main camera to follow this thing. All right. So this script is not that straightforward to write from scratch. So I actually saved it in the day 3 folder. So please download this one called Camera Follower number 6. And download it. You might need all of these 3. I have it downloaded already on my desktop. So I'm going to put that inside my scripts folder. So which one? So Camera Follower number 6. I'm going to explain you what this script does. So drag it here. Camera follower number 6B. I downloaded the wrong one, so I'm going to download this one. This one is correct. What you have is correct. So I'm going to delete this one. Drag this one in. Yes, this one is correct. So now it's wrong. So once you have this script, you can go to your main camera and make sure when you animate this, your display is shown from display 1, because display 1 is your main camera. So right now the main camera is somewhere there. Yeah. Now with using this script, it's going to start following these cameras. Okay. So in this camera, we are going to add camera follower number 6. Okay. Here we need few input. So the first input is all input views, which is this parent, all cameras. We'll just drag this camera here. You have this default posing time. So what this script is doing is it's actually following the camera and will pause there for some time and then start to move to the next one. And then pause there for some time and then go to the next.
Hey, Somi.
Hey.
Where did you load the script onto? Like which camera?
A main camera. Main
Oh,
camera.
okay.
So these are just guide cameras. They actually don't do anything.
Oh.
So this is the main camera, and we will need something called text displayer. This is optional, but we are going to do it. So we are going to create a simple UI. Text Mesh Pro text. Do you have this? If you don't have it, okay. If you don't have it, you can go to Package Manager and install Text Mesh Pro text. It's asking import TMP essentials. You don't need these examples and extras. You don't need this, so you can just close it. You just need the essentials. Okay, so once you add that, these two elements is created. So one is called canvas. This will have all the UIs. And this determines which display the canvas is going to show. So this is going to be shown in display 1. So make sure that your final video is always on display 1. Okay, and we have this text mesh pro text. You can actually design. So we are moving away and trying to see this, and it's not showing properly. So you can change this bar clip a little bit bigger if you have same problem as mine. Okay, so this is the canvas. It represents your screen size. Yeah, and you can move this one. I'm just going to align this. You can design however you want. But I'm going to align this on the left top corner and align this to the left top corner of the canvas. And I can also change the size as I want. And you can also design this. You can see from here which font that you are using. I think I don't have really nice font. Yeah. So I'm going to just use this default font. And you can just put something default text there, but doesn't matter. as well. But here I'm going to just say camera info. So just here, what this script does provide is to provide some camera. It displays the camera name while you're playing. So, okay. In the main camera, all cameras, yeah, and let's bring this text, mesh pro text, in this text input, and default pause time I will put 2 seconds, and speed per frame. This is how far it goes per frame. So you will see how this actually changes and affects your script. Okay, so this is another UI element. It's going to display here. So okay, so let's play this for now. Now after you have this, it follows this, goes through all the cameras, and it's automatically looping.
Is it automatically like interpolating from camera to camera, so you don't have to like move? Okay.
Yeah. So this script has some issue, like it has some weird blinking issue, but actually for developing project, it was okay to use. But I will try to update this script to a better version if in the future. Yeah. But for now, this is what we used. And the script you can, well, I can explain what script literally does, but I will just show you what else we can do with this. So what this camera script, this is just simple, just following each camera one by one, isn't it? So that's pretty handy actually. So we don't have to animate the camera a lot. But also what this allows to do is actually it allows to do some more specific things. For example, if I want the camera number 1 to be paused longer than camera number 2. So what we can actually do is we can actually, you have to follow this naming convention though. So I'm going to set this one. I'm going to copy this, Control C, Control D. So I'm going to make a new set of cameras just to give you a comparison. So I'm going to actually add more specific pausing and speed time. So what this can allow you to do is here, this one, you can allow this to pause for longer. For example, I can pause for 5 seconds, and then the speed going to the next one can be faster. For example, you can play with these numbers. So what that represents is that it's representing with the number P, capital P and capital S. P is for pausing time as a second. So 3 meaning 3 seconds. And speed meaning how far as a unit. So for example, it goes for 1 meter per frame. So if you say 1.0, it means you are moving 1 meter per frame, which means it's going to be faster. All right, so if you set that, you can set more specific time and pausing speed and time for each camera. What this is actually not doing is, let me just make a quick diagram to show you. So what this does is, okay, when it arrives to a camera, when it arrives to a camera, it pauses for the default amount of time. The default was 2. If you don't want to pause, you can put it 0. So it pauses for 2 seconds, and then it will animate. It will follow the animation if you have an animation in the camera, and then it pauses for the P amount of time. So for this amount of time, whatever you roll it there. So this is camera number 1 until camera number 1. So that's the posing time. So this is the default posing time. And then what this speed does is it goes to the second camera, camera number 2, right? So this speed is representing, or it determines the speed to go from camera number 1 to camera number 2. So if you have any animation, this P posing time only affects after the animation, But actually, if you really have an animation in the camera, you can just have proper posing time in the animation itself and put all the posing time as 0. I think that is much more proper or
Hey, Somi.
Hmm?
So when you say like you have an animation and the camera waits until the animation is done till it moves, or is that what you mean by the pausing?
So it pauses before it plays the animation, and
Okay.
then after it stops the animation, after it finishes the animation, it pauses another 5 seconds in this case.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, and then go to the next camera. So this speed S, it determines the speed from camera number 1 to camera number 2. So as I said, this is not the only solution for any project. This is something was used in our project, and yeah, there are of course a lot of different ways to develop this. But we found that it's quite universal and handy. So anyways, let me give you this example to really check what is happening now. So if you play this now, this camera number 1. So this was not display 1. So it actually shows you the last one that we stopped. So it's stopping from the last one that we paused the game. That I will also show you how to refresh this. So as you can see that there is this time shown, right? So in the camera, you can actually change the size of this font and the position of this thing. And this only can be seen from when the game is playing. So we need to just write this down somewhere. So 37, 8, 58, 119. So I'm going to write it. 37, 58, 119. And I'm going to also increase the text longer, so it doesn't come on. It doesn't go to the second one. Okay, so now camera 2, 3 paused. Shows it's pausing for 2 seconds, you can see. So the first line here, it shows how much that I'm pausing right now. And this is the overall length of the entire video, how much the runtime of this video itself. So the second one is more obvious. The first one, you can check the pausing time. You can also decide not to display this. So you can also draw pausing time. You can turn it off. Draw run time. You can turn it off. This is all your choice. So let's have a look now. This is pausing. It's going to pause for 5 seconds. Oh, it's pausing for 2 seconds. 2 seconds each. Okay, so when there is no animation, they are using same pausing time as the default. So the pausing time we set is here. So you can change this to 3, then all of the camera will pause for 3 seconds. You can see that here. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that's what's happening. So this part I can update. Yeah, so we can actually all use the pausing time. There's 2 pausing time because I'm using the default pausing time in the beginning, only using the second pausing time after the animation. Yeah, so let's then try how that affects the animation. So I'm sure Hanjun covered the animation part yesterday. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some animation for this camera. So for example, what if for example, number 4 is Control Shift V. Okay, what if number 3 to number 4 is maybe a drone, for example, a drone that is shaking. So we want to go from number 3 to number 4 through a shaking drone footage. Okay, I'm going to go from number 3 to number 5. So I'm going to delete number 4 and 5. Instead, I'm going to make an animation from number 3 to go to this position. So so this is number 3. I'm going to make an animation on this guy. So in window, you can make an animation. So animation, you can add an animation by clicking on something and go to window, animation, and animation. And if you create it like this, it's asking you to create an animator. So once you have that, you want to make a folder, animate, and you can name this called camera number 3 animation. Let's name it like that. Okay. So this is automatically creating something called controller. So I will explain that a little bit in a bit. Okay, so in camera number 3, we are going to add some animation by adding property for rotation and position. We don't need scale, we don't need any other attribute. So we are going to add position and rotation. And the first one, it automatically creates this key that is same as the ending key. So the second position I want to go. So I have this camera number 3. I'm going to maybe go to somewhere here. By doing this, by moving this, I'm going to always check my displayer. And because displayer now, because all of these are displayed too, so it doesn't show me correct display. So for just while I'm editing, I'm going to use display 3. to make sure that I'm seeing through camera number 3. Okay, so once I go there, I want this position to be maybe my second key, second position. Maybe I will put it here. You can change this speed later. So I'm going to just put the position by adding the key here. Oh, sorry, I didn't move the camera. So I should do Shift Control F. Yeah, make sure that I move the camera and then add the key. And then I move my view and then move my position, Control Shift F, and add the key. I move my view, maybe, then I put another key. I can always move the key. And then Control Shift F to move my camera and position. So actually, I don't need this key. I go to this final position and move my camera to snap to the view, Control Shift F, and add the key. Now if I just play this, you will see, I can play this, it does something like that. So that is a very, very fast animation. So you can always stretch this to maybe to minimum, let's say 3 seconds. You can stretch it like this. So move this position to a proper speed, maybe 5 seconds. You can always final adjust this, fine tune this anytime. So if this is a helicopter or drone, and maybe you want to add some shakiness. So for example, okay, if I go there, I can now grab my camera and then maybe I will just add a little bit of rotation like this. And then rekey this. Okay. And then maybe I will move probably a little bit further and rotate this. And then I'll play this. Just to give a bit of interesting shaking. Okay, that was a bit too dramatic, so I'm going to maybe check if this works better. This was not that smooth, but you will always find a better. I didn't do a good job of making this. Okay, just a demonstration for that this has some shakiness, and of course in the future you will have in your project you will have much better animation. So sometimes we want to mimic drone footage, drone shakiness. Sometimes we want to mimic like vehicle or a person's first point of view that is a little bit shaking, like walking. So there are lots of different camera passes and tricks in it. So you can animate all of those here. And this will also still follow that. So in my main camera, oh, I didn't use this piece. No, I think it's gonna pause for a second. Oh, this is display one, so move that. Okay. And for it's gonna pause for 5 seconds. Okay. And for 3 seconds. And this is going to follow after 2 seconds. It follows the animation, and gonna pause for 2 seconds. Yeah. Does it make sense? Okay, so actually this works actually. Yeah, if you don't have any animation, it's going to follow whatever you instructed. Okay, once you have that, there are a few more things you can do as well. Let's just change this view a bit better. So I can Control Shift F to first camera, Control Shift F. So this is my main camera. Okay.